Starting the stream. I think we should be good. This is the first stream that I've had back in a while. And, but it still has the stupid fucking settings that YouTube has, which is where you can't, like, they used to let you, like, test your stream and make sure the strength of the stream was strong before you like actually fucking started the thing. But now you can't fucking do that. You gotta just like hope and like send a prayer to whatever god you have that the platform isn't going to fuck over your entire stream. So YouTube is fantastic. I love YouTube. And that's entirely true and not at all an April Fool's bit of sarcasm here. But all of that aside, I am interviewing right now the CEO of Lbry. I think that's how it's pronounced. How do you pronounce it?
Library. But you
Library.
can also just say LBRY is also totally fine, but library.
All right, gotcha. So the CEO of Library, and the the subject is fairly intense as far as I understand it. And I assigned the petition for it as well. There's a petition on change.org. I'll be including a link to that in the description. Right now I'll be sharing this on Twitter and on Facebook. I already have some people tagged who are interested in being notified about the live. But the first question I guess I'll ask is, apart from how you're doing today, what library is for somebody who like has no idea? Like what's the elevator pitch for library?
Sure. So library does to publishing what Bitcoin does to money. So that is, it's completely disintermediated. There's no central point of controlling the system. So you can publish something to library and have true ownership over your channel in the same way that Bitcoin allows you true ownership over your money. And that's true of not just your channel, but your content, who you're following, your settings, and all of this stuff. So we've tried to make services like YouTube possible, but we've tried to do it with this different underlying architecture that means that that point of control that Google has literally does not exist. For anyone for which that sounded complicated, or you're just the kind of person who doesn't like, holding your Bitcoin locally, which I think is most people, there's a service called Odyssey, ODYSEE.com, used by about 20 million people, that is a YouTube-like service that's backed by the library network underneath. And so if you just want a place to go to watch videos, not get worried about getting squashed by Google for breaking rules or disagreeing with the establishment in some way, Odyssey is a very popular way to do that. A lot of people who use Odyssey don't even know that there's a cryptocurrency involved. And if you load up that Odyssey homepage and go through some of the categories, I guarantee you'll find creators that you know and like, some of which you might find and be like, hey, I always wondered where that guy went. And you'll find them on Odyssey. It's a lot
Dan
like YouTube a decade ago.
Dan Dix, for instance, right from Press for Truth.
Dan Dix is on there. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, like there have been a lot of creators who didn't break terms of service who got suspended from like various platforms, and YouTube is definitely one of the ones that they have been suspended from.
I mean, the standard to publish on YouTube is higher than the standard of being a doctor in the United States.
Well, so all right, so like my audience currently, like I don't know if this is gonna blow up or not, but like my audience currently has like a relatively good understanding of centralization versus decentralization. So I wanted to like I guess to get into some of the technical details. Um, for those who like might be interested into the infrastructure stuff, I briefly
Sure.
covered it on an article on agoristnexus.com, which is a place I write for. But like essentially, from what I understand it, this is like basically peer-to-peer stuff using blobs. And the blockchain refers to the location of the blobs, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I'm guessing that given what you've said, your audience would know BitTorrent. Is that fair?
Yeah, most of them
Yeah.
probably. I mean,
Okay.
some of them are kind of old, but you know they'll catch up. They're not stupid.
Sure, but even I'm not saying literally understand how it works. Although BitTorrent's quite elegant. I remember learning about it in my when I was studying computer science and having my mind blown a little bit, and
Yeah.
definitely led to some of what we created today when I learned about it. And I've been into peer-to-peer tech since before BitTorrent existed. I mean, I grew up on the internet, starting in the mid '90s, and but what Lbry, how it works specifically is if you're coming from that BitTorrent background, and this is actually even the conception of Lbry is we wanted to fix problems with BitTorrent. When we started the company, we weren't thinking, let's take down YouTube. That was honestly a pragmatic decision when we saw that so many people wanted an alternative and were frustrated with YouTube. That was me just being a good businessman. We wanted to fix BitTorrent. BitTorrent has several problems. It has problems of legitimacy. So there's no identity, there's no ability to earn money, and this means that it sort of attracts exclusively, sort of not exclusively, but predominantly, behavior that the legitimate creators don't like. Regardless of whether you think it's right or wrong, it's true that legitimate creators largely did not embrace it, and we wanted to fix problems of discovery and having a sort of coherent view of the network. And so what Lbry does is it takes a public blockchain and it allows you to create an identity, or you can publish anonymously. And then what you're doing is you're publishing metadata to that blockchain. And metadata is things like, it's things that aren't the content but describe it. So the title, who made it, a description, tags, all of these things are part of the metadata. And embedded in that metadata is a pointer to a BitTorrent-like network. And so that's what the Lbry network is. It's a peer-to-peer data network and a public blockchain that maintains the entries of what's available on the peer-to-peer network and allows, paying for content and tipping and all of these other things.
And so, just to be very specific, there's not just videos there. There's other files. There's you can publish a document. You can publish basic. It's like Dropbox, but on the blockchain.
Yeah, you can publish literally anything. We've designed, in terms of the software, the user interfaces and stuff, we've definitely optimized for video and text. And that is, video and text are probably together 95+% of what's available. But yeah, you can find, spreadsheets and data dumps, like the Defense Distributed crew, which does all of the 3D firearms computer files. They use this technology to distribute their files.
Yeah, because Keybase kind of fucked them over, and it's not that Keybase, because this is part of the thing that people were confused by. It's not that Keybase saw the messages and said this isn't going to work. It's not that they knew what was being said. It's that the open team was openly about that. So I mean, they could have called the team hibiscus enthusiasts, and they would have been much better off, and they could have just stayed on Keybase, but they didn't, because they started to get spooked. And it's reasonable. I'm not saying it's not reasonable. Part of the reason I would get off a platform is if they started doing it, and I've certainly had my beef with Telegram for shutting down political protests. So it makes sense, but part of the reason they got off is because they thought their files might be at risk, or that they might be targeted for investigation or something for what was said in an allegedly encrypted channel. So I mean, there's that element of it, and I assume that part of the reason that they came to your site was to avoid that censorship.
Yeah, although I want to be, it's easy to not do this, but it's not, what Lbry. So Odyssey is a website, and so Odyssey is all the same properties as any other website. Right. We block content, we filter content, we even have community, guidelines and content guidelines. We think we're much more inclusive than what YouTube allows, but there's lots of things. There are things that aren't going to be allowed on Odyssey. Lbry is a decentralized network that's not controlled by my company, right? And so we literally don't have the ability to interfere in the same way. So they're two different things. They're interacting with the same thing, right? In the same way that so in other words, if you download Bitcoin and you're running Bitcoin locally, Bitcoin wallet, there's no one that can interfere with your ability to send that transaction. If you go onto Coinbase, Coinbase can require your ID, and Coinbase may say you're trying to send money to an account that's been, flagged as, associated with some group you're not allowed to send money to, or whatever. Right. And so those are the two sort of different different ways. So Coinbase is publishing. I'm sorry, the defense distributed guys. Wait, am I getting the name wrong? Deterrence Dispense. Which one is it? One is the company and the other is the group. Let me make sure I'm not saying the wrong one. It's
I think.
Deterrence Dispense. Deterrence Dispense. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, right. Because it was Cody Wilson had Defense Distributed, and then Deterrence Dispense was the sort of peer group that sprung up when that organization started facing some trouble.
Yeah, like Ivan and Company.
Yes, the Ivan crew. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm embarrassed that I got their name wrong, although they kind of cribbed a very similar name, so I'm not. I'll split the blame. So they're all on, and they're publishing directly to Lbry, and I think they were smart to get off of Keybase, not just because there were signs that Keybase would begin censoring them, but Keybase is a dead product. Keybase got bought by Zoom. You can look at their GitHub. It hasn't been developed in 9 months or a year or whenever it was that they were bought. Like it's no longer being worked on. So, it's not going to get better. It's dead.
Right. Yeah, and like if they are working on something in the background, they're not being very loud about it. So it's not like they can blame anybody for thinking otherwise.
Yeah.
So, okay, so just to be very specific, the Lbry, I'm used to calling it that. The Lbry links point to sort of like the location of the blobs, and the blobs are temporarily stored and used as peer-to-peer technology as sort of seeds for other people's viewing of the same content, right? Is that like generally how it works? All right, cool. So the reason it's uncensorable is because basically these blobs can be stored by like an infinite amount of like hosts, and these blobs are stored given like somebody's, I guess, chosen settings.
Yeah. So I want to be clear. We do not guarantee that that content will be hosted necessarily. That's not something that someone could promise. Basically, you have the metadata that's entered into the blockchain. Once that's been entered into the blockchain, it can't be removed. That's the nature of a public blockchain, is that you can't edit them. So and then there's a pointer to the data network. If participants in that data network aren't willing to host your content, then it might, and you're not willing to host it yourself, then it might not remain available.
Right. Okay. So, the thing that's being discussed right now, and the reason that I asked to have you on, the SEC is allegedly threatening the Lbry network itself, primarily by targeting monetization. I already signed the petition. There's a petition on change.org about this situation, but when I saw the information on like I'm subscribed to the email thing. It says the future of crypto is at risk. It says, "Dear Lbry and Odyssey community, we are reaching out to you today as part of our continued commitment to transparency. Today, the SEC filed a complaint against Lbry Incorporated, the creator of the Lbry blockchain and the video sharing platform Odyssey, alleging that the sale of Lbry credits by Lbry Incorporated constitutes unregistered security offerings." So, mind expanding on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and we have a standalone website specifically for this case, help LBRY-SaveCrypto.com.
Awesome.
And thank you. Then the petition is linked on there as well. So if you want to sign, and I know your group leans, anarchist and libertarian, and those kinds of people, myself included, can sometimes be skeptical of the efficacy of petitions. We're really trying to get as many people to sign this as possible because it will help demonstrate to the politicians and the legislators that what's going on here is a problem. And it is. What's going on here is a threat to, I believe, almost the entire cryptocurrency industry. They're going after us, not because we've done anything wrong, not because we've committed fraud. They're not alleging fraud. We haven't enriched ourselves. I'm paying myself way less than I could make, working elsewhere and working less time because I bet on the company and bet on what I think we've built and are continuing to build. And so, like some of the things that they're alleging, so no ICO, we didn't do an ICO. We didn't sell any tokens until the network was already functional, and you could use the tokens when you bought them, and we weren't doing shady background deals. We were selling them on public markets where it was clear, where the same tokens that the miners were selling and anyone else was selling. And and they're alleging that this is a securities offering. And some of the reasons that they're saying it's a securities offering is, for example, we continued to develop the technology. Well, almost every cryptocurrency is continued to be developed. We made social media posts encouraging people to download the software and to run it. And by trying to grow the network, that makes it a security. And I know that this sounds like I'm probably saying these things, and if you're listening, you're like, that sounds so absurd that it could not be true. Seriously, go and look. We have the filing. You can go and look. What they're saying here is they are trying to establish a standard that would make almost every single one a security, which means that every exchange would have to be tracked and registered. You would not be able to freely exchange them. And what it would do is destroy cryptocurrency in the United States for the most part.
And blockchain speech, because Lbry isn't the only blockchain speech platform. There's also like Steemit. There's the Theta network. There's like a burgeoning community of like specifically blockchain file hosting in a variety of contexts. And one of the networks that I advocate hasn't even fucking talked about this for some reason, but I'll try to get them on board to promote the petition, because this is absolutely absurd. It's PocketNet, and they're about to start doing similar things to what Lbry is doing, and the thing that they're doing is going to involve the same sort of video kind of thing. So if this can damage your platform, it can damage theirs too. So I'm not sure why they haven't said anything. It's I doubt they're not aware. But either way, the point
well, something that's going on. I mean, I think that and I feel maybe bad. I feel a little bad about this, and I think maybe we should have said something sooner. But it's really hard. You have a subpoena from the United States government. You're under investigation, and our lawyers, strenuously, I had multiple arguments with them about I want to talk about this, because we try very hard to be transparent. We publish spreadsheets showing every single transaction the company has made. It's all public. And I was like, look, we've always been transparent. I just want to be honest about the fact that this is going on. And they said that, basically that the SEC will go out of their way to screw you if you're honest about what's happening. And so, I mean, I think a lot of these companies are facing a similar situation. I think a number of companies are under investigation right now. And this one is essentially breaking first because we made it extremely easy for them, in the sense that we were public about everything. Other coins go around, they set up, a bunch of entities. They try to hide their transactions. They're not transparent about what's going on, right? Try to find equivalent logs that we put out, for these other companies about how they spent their coins, and you're not going to find them. And so you've got, sort of center-left political establishment figures who are very pro-regulation, and their mindset is what every single one of these companies are doing is illegal, and they went after us because it was one of the easiest ones to go after first. But this will be the first of many coming behind this.
Right. Well, and in that regard, if they can knock you down, they can knock pretty much anyone down. And basically, if people don't rally behind this, they're sacrificing not only the future of cryptocurrency, but also the future of blockchain-based social media. Because effectively, what happens is all social media that's on the blockchain has been advertised as a way to earn cryptocurrency. I have not seen a single fucking blockchain-based social media thing that does not say, hey, come here, earn cryptocurrency, don't be the product, sell your own product. The standard blockchain media elevator pitch, everything from Lbry to Steemit to Twetch to all these other platforms that are trying to make their way in the censored media landscape to provide an alternative have all made similar claims. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think they're all at risk. One point I will make about these, and I look, I support the free exchange of everything, so I don't care. I don't care if people are making a super centralized token and wanted to exchange it freely. I think people should be allowed to do that. So I don't think the SEC should be investigating anyone if no one is alleging that they were defrauded, right?
Right.
But one difference is Lbry has a decentralized network that you can truly interact with in a legitimately decentralized way. And I'm not
Right.
saying that's not true of some of these others, but go and look and check, is the only way I can interact with this network a website?
Right.
Because if the answer is that you can only interact with it via a website and there's not a decentralized client that you can run, then it's not really a decentralized network. And so I
Yeah.
would encourage anyone who's looking at these services to see if there is desktop or mobile apps that are truly peer-to-peer. And if those don't exist, then those services are very easy to censor and crush.
Well, and that's one of the see, because like I write for Agorist Nexus, as many people know, but like one of the articles I wrote was about things like decentralization and alternative social networks. We got censored from Facebook. The founder was banned, and the pages he ran were deleted. So I went on this sort of hate rampage because I'm bipolar, I refuse to get medicated, and I need targets. So this is a good sort of rage sink because I've been meaning to make an article or something about this for a while. So I made this article that said Facebook is not a private company, and I went through the fact that they were funded by the CIA like hugely, and other intelligence organizations, and other sort of like adjacent institutions include big government organizations, intelligence, military industrial complex, like those are what the same angel investors can't remember the term for it right now, but some sort of like capital, venture capital firms that threw money at Facebook were the same ones who threw money at like basically Corruption Incorporated. And with that being said, I needed to list some alternatives. And so I went over the alternatives that I knew about, and I knew about these alternatives because I've been looking into this for a while. And one of the key points that I pointed out was that some of these alternatives claim to be like censor resistant, or they won't censor you, etc., etc., but they're still centralized. Like Float, for instance, is a good example. I don't have necessarily a problem with Float as a concept, but they're not like censor proof. Like they can still remove any post they want. I don't know if they're about to change that by adding some sort of blockchain access. I don't know if they're about to become decentralized and have like a desktop interface so that people can interface with the application regardless of whether or not they have access to their account or whatever. But ultimately, like, I'm very irritated with a lot of people for promoting, quote, anti-censorship, like, technology that isn't actually anti-censor. Like, there are censors on those platforms. You can be censored.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we are sort of best in class here. And it's not as simple as just packaging your website into a desktop app. If it's still pointing at a central set of servers, then the obligation to censor is still going to be there. So you have to not just build the desktop app, but you have to build it in a peer-to-peer manner. For what we've built to have that desktop app have the user experience that it does, backed by what it's backed by, it's really quite an engineering feat. It's not something that is easy to do. And I think ultimately it's going to be why we win. I'm kind of running out of time. Is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Well, I mean, what else do you want to say about the subject? Because, like, if there's anything you really want to hammer home, feel free.
Just go, please. This is something that we can win by spreading awareness and by just using it. Okay, when millions of people are doing something, the government does not stop it. Okay, they just won't. And so if we can get as many people to sign the petition as possible, get as many people holding and using Lbry credits as possible, and build that web that's dense enough that when a rock comes at it, it bounces off. And that's the situation that we're facing. And so I would encourage everyone to just create an account, check it out, get some of the coin, create your identity, and start using it. And that's one of the number one things you can do to help us win. Our company's on every social network. So we have Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. We have a Discord, 40,000 people in our Discord if you want to come and hang out there. And come be a part of a movement to take back control from big tech and Wall Street.
Awesome. All right. So with that being said, please go share that petition. I personally don't know that petitions do much in the regards of actual action, but if you do share the petition, you're sharing the story and you're getting people angry. So then the more people get that petition out there, the more people who don't see success, the more people will try to badger by other means. Also write to the SEC, write to whoever, do whatever. Like this is like actionable thing that might actually change the landscape of social media. So get mad and get fucking active.
Yes. Thank you, Jeremiah. Have a good day.
Be well.